I'm Haley, a new mom in her 30s after a long fertility journey, figuring out motherhood one snack break at a time.
And I'm Suzanne, navigating fertility after loss in my 40s while raising a teenager and still hoping for one more.
Welcome to Two Truths and a Hormone, the podcast where age gap meets egg counts
And real talk meets real emotion.
We're diving into infertility, womanhood, and everything the brochures forgot to mention. The truth is, it's messy.
The other truth, you're not alone.
And the hormone, well, she's along for the ride. Welcome to another episode of Two Truths and a Hormone. I am your co-host, Haley.
And I'm your co-host, Suzanne, and we are so glad that you are back for episode 3, which is another big episode for us. I think for you, I'm excited to hear because,
Yes, I'm nervous. I didn't think I would be as nervous as I am, but like my heart is beating a lot right now, so we'll see how this goes. But how are you feeling? Your episode just released yesterday. I know yesterday you were a little nervous feeling, but are you feeling any better?
It's funny because, of course, here I am TMI, but this is a podcast of fertility and infertility and trying to conceive in hormones, so I guess there's not really TMI, but it coincided with pretty much the first day of my cycle, so that was kind of poetic in a not depressing kind of way. I will say, I think this is the first cycle that I wasn't like absolutely gutted that I wasn't pregnant. And I think this helped in a weird way. And it took me like us even just getting on today to kind of realize like my story's out there, your story's going to be out there. Maybe we will help some people. Maybe we won't, who knows. Right. And just kind of reminding myself, one, I think working with you through your nutrition classes that we'll get into in other episodes, but like getting my body in a better place. So when we do fertility, do IVF, we have a better success, and just kind of working on changing my mental focus from I've got to get pregnant to I've just got to get in the best me possible really helped. And you and I have talked a lot about that, and just, I think getting it out there really helped. I know we had a friend that listened to it and he reached out and that helped. And just, knowing that maybe somebody feels a little bit less alone if they hear it. So I think I said this to you before. I think because you and I are very close, but I've never truly heard your entire story start to finish. I've heard bits and pieces and what you're comfortable sharing.
Because it started, my story started before we even knew each other.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Pretty much were around for some of it, yeah.
But I think, like I said before, like I think you're going to look back after this and be like, wow, I did that. And I don't mean just sharing your story, but like I lived that. And I think it's going to be really cathartic for you and, like, make you realize what a freaking rock star you are.
Yeah. So, like I've mentioned, I haven't actually, like, said it out loud from beginning to end. So I did make, like, a bullet point list just to make sure
You're so type A.
Just so that I can make sure that I stay on topic and I'm not, like, bouncing back and forth.
Like I was.
I've done it before. Yeah, so I just don't forget. No, you were fine. You were not bouncing back and forth. But so I don't, like, forget anything because, like I said, I just haven't, like, spoken it. So.
Yeah. Well, whenever you are ready to share, I do have questions for the end. But if like you like need a little break in between your story and you're like, Suzanne, ask a question, just let me know.
All right. So, I'm actually going to take it back to like a junior high and high school. And you're probably wondering, why does your trying to conceive journey start in junior high and high school? Like, that's a great question because I obviously wasn't trying to get pregnant when I was like 14 and 15. But I wanted to take it back there because I think some of the things that I experienced then kind of are related to what I experienced in my journey. So, growing up, my periods were always irregular, and they were painful. And so, like, I was having periods maybe 2-3 months. It was never consistent. And then, of course, had kind of like typical period cramps, but then there were also times where I was having like a 10 out of 10 pain. Like, after going through childbirth, like literally equivalent to like contractions. Like that level of pain, like pain where where I almost passed out. I almost threw up. Like I always when I talk about this, I tell people I had concrete floors in my bedroom, and I remember trying to find relief any way possible that I looked at the floor and I said, I'm gonna try laying on this floor because I
Oh
was
no.
trying to get some comfort some way somehow. Um, and I never told my mom. Growing up, we never went to the doctor. That just wasn't really a thing. Like if we were sick, your body knows what to do when you have a cold. Like you get a fever, it takes care of it and everything. So we didn't really go to the doctor. And then I didn't really know that what I was experiencing was abnormal. I mean, you're told that period cramps are normal, which by the way, they're not normal. They're common. It's not really normal. Um,
I
and so
like
I
that
just
use. I
thought,
like that word common versus normal.
yeah, yeah. And so I kind of just thought, well, I mean, some people just have it worse than others. And so I just thought that I just happened to be unlucky and mine just happened to be worse than anything. Um, which even if I went to the doctor, they probably would have given me some pain medicine and thrown birth control at me anyway, so they probably weren't going to do much anyway. So I just kind of dealt with it. Um, yeah, I just kind of dealt with it. I didn't really,
That
I
breaks
think,
my
yeah,
heart.
yeah, it was
Like,
horrible. After some research that I've done recently, I think what I had experienced in those really, really painful times, I think I had cysts, ovarian cysts that were bursting. Um,
oh gosh.
after everything that I've kind of researched myself. I'm not the only one that's experienced it. There are other people that have experienced it too, and so kind of seeing how they've explained it, I'm like, oh, okay, I think that's probably what it was. Um, so fast forward to beginning of 2018. This was before I met Jake. I was talking to a friend, and I was like, I'm just so tired of being in pain, and I'm tired of like this not being regular. Like I'm just tired of it. And so she was like, well, maybe you should try birth control. She was like, you know, that helps. That seems to help some people. And, again, didn't really grow up going to the doctor. So at this point, I was 22, about to be 23. So I had never gone to get like a woman exam. I
Mhm.
never gone to get like a pap smear or anything. And so I was terrified. I was like, I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't want to do that. And so I don't know if they're still around, but at the time it was a big thing where there were like some websites where you could order birth control. Like you didn't
Oh,
have to go to the doctor. You
okay.
could get prescribed birth control online, and they would just mail it to you. And so I did that, which is probably similar to like a. I've never had gotten a medical marijuana card, but I'm assuming it's pretty similar. Like a doctor did call me. They did talk to me.
It's like a telemed
And
visit, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they were like, well, I'll go ahead and prescribe it to you, but I really think that you should go um, get your woman's wellness exam. And then I talked to my friend, and she was like, her mom had cancer. I don't know what kind of cancer she had. But she's like, I think you should still go to the doctor
Yeah.
too. She's like, it could potentially save your life. So I was like,
For
oh,
sure,
okay,
for sure.
I'll go to the doctor, I guess. So I went to the doctor, and I told her that I was on birth control. She didn't ask any questions, which is kind of weird because she knew that this was the first time for me
Yeah.
to go to a doctor to get an exam. She didn't even ask, like, how did you get this medication then? And in fact, she had also prescribed vitamin D because of the dosage it was. I had to get a prescription for it. And when I went to the pharmacy and got my prescription and came home, I thought I was getting the vitamin D. When I opened it up, it was actually birth control. So she had actually prescribed me birth control and didn't
Even
even
though
tell me.
you already were on it.
Yeah, and she didn't even tell me she was doing it. So yeah, that
Awesome.
was experience with that. But everything was fine then. But then I met Jake at the end of March in 2018, and then we got married in November of 2018. So
Okay.
a quick relationship, but
Nothing wrong with that. When you know, you
yeah,
know.
I know, I know. Our first year of marriage, we really focused on paying off debt. So we paid off both of our cars, and then we kind of started working on paying off. Jake had a student loan. I didn't have any student loans, so Jake had a student loan. Um, and then in 2020, of course, the
The world
world
shut
kind of
down. Yeah.
went crazy.
Yeah.
So my prescription for birth control ended in June of 2020. And so at this time, like going to the doctor was not not a fun thing.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I'm not messing
Yeah,
with that for
yeah.
sure.
And we decided that we were gonna start trying in January of 2021. So I was like,
Okay.
I don't want to go to the doctor right now. I was like, we're gonna start trying in 6 months anyways. I was like, I don't want to go back to get a prescription just to stop it in a few months or whatever. So
Well, there's talk of, do you stop your birth control a
yeah,
little bit early? So, I mean, that makes sense. Your timing made
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. So I just stopped it all together.
Were y'all doing other things to avoid, or was it just like if it happens earlier, it happens earlier?
We were,
Okay.
yeah, we
Okay.
were. I guess technically started trying in November of 2020. I had an appointment in January of 2021 to go to a doctor, just to kind of start talking about it and like figure out what to do. Because again, you're not told how to get pregnant; you're told how to avoid getting pregnant. So, I mean, I didn't really know what
Yeah.
to do. So, but it was like November where we're like, we'll go ahead and start. Like, why not? We're not doing anything to avoid. We're not really trying, but we're not really avoiding. Um, and trying air quotes because by the time I went to the doctor in January, this is as long as I had gone without a period. I think it was like 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a long time, and
Do
the
you
doctor.
do you sorry, I don't want to throw you off, but
Okay,
like I'm very regular. So like do
yeah.
you like I think about when I'm about to start my period and like bloating and cramp, like do you just progressively feel crappier until you start your period, or is it kind of chill and then you get all the PMS stuff? Like do you know what I
Um,
mean? Like is your body like
yeah.
progressively building up to it, or does it just store? Does that make
I
sense what I'm
think,
asking?
yeah, it makes sense. think, um,
Because I'm
I
just
think
sitting
I
here
would do
thinking,
some
like, to
of it.
not have a
Yeah,
period, I'm like, oh my, like, would my cramps be
yeah,
20 times worse? Like,
yeah. A lot of it kind of depended. Like a lot of times they would just show up, and I'll be like, oh, okay. I don't
okay,
know.
wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
then but I am like I think because of like some of like the things that I do struggle with, like I do think I'm a little bit of a moody person anyway. And I think that it is a
No.
lot to like my like blood sugar, like we'll find out in a little bit kind of some things that I was diagnosed with and everything, and I think it's kind of all related to that.
Okay.
So I don't really feel like there was ever, yeah, it was kind of sporadic. Like sometimes I'd be like, okay, I think it's probably coming soon, but a lot of times it was just like, oh, hello,
Surprise.
welcome. Yeah.
So happy to
So,
see you.
yeah, exactly. So I went to this doctor in January and she was like, we really don't worry about people who don't have periods until they're going longer than 3 months, which,
Yeah, I mean, I've been told that too. Okay.
yeah,
Because, like, stress and things like, okay, yeah.
yeah, but still, if you're
Yeah.
having irregular periods, I'm, something's going on.
Well, I
Just,
feel it like
it doesn't matter
just
how long.
that doesn't
Yeah,
make sense because it's either you're irregular all the time,
yeah,
right? Which is concerning, whether it's for 3 months or not.
yeah,
Or like me, I'm very regular. So for me to go 3 months without, that's
yeah,
concerning for me because
yeah,
I'm very regular. So I feel like
right.
that's such a weird statement to make because
Yeah. Well, and like even when I was on birth control, like that's supposed to regulate your cycles. Like there's
did
a
it not?
placebo week and it didn't.
You still didn't have
I
periods?
still wasn't getting a period every month.
Wow, Haley,
Yeah,
that is
like yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And like I
And then
mentioned to
there's
the
me. I
doctor.
had the shot when Scott and I, right before we got married, because it was like, oh, you aren't gonna have, not right before we got married, but anyway, like you're not supposed to have a period, and I had a freaking period
Yeah,
regularly every month.
yeah. No.
What?
Yeah, I even told her, I was like, well, even when I was on birth control, like I never really had a period. She's like, well, after you take it for so long, your periods do kind of start to diminish them. I'm like, but this has been for the beginning.
No.
But I also talked to this doctor. I'm not with this doctor anymore. I did talk to this doctor about the painful periods that I had in the past. I haven't had those super painful periods since before I met Jake. Like it's been a
Oh,
while,
thank
thank
goodness. I was
goodness.
gonna ask if like,
Yeah, that's been a while, but like I told her, and like I also noticed that I would start feeling sick, like a cold or something like
mhm.
that. And like I told her this, and she's like, "Well, it's pretty normal to feel crappy
And that whole
around it."
comment about
That
periods,
that's what I was
like,
told.
I that
Yeah,
no, because I
yeah,
so when I was in middle school, junior high, I was on Accutane. It's an acne medication, and it causes severe birth defects.
yeah,
And the dermatologist I went to would not prescribe it unless you were on birth control. And
yeah,
so at 14, I'm on birth control. I mean, I was not sexually active in any way, no
yeah,
boyfriend, nothing like that. I had to go every month for a urine test, every 3 months for blood work to prove I wasn't pregnant.
Yeah.
Um, and I still had a period. Now, maybe my period was lighter,
Yeah.
but I still
You still
had a
have, yeah.
period. Unless, like, when I got married the first time, I skipped my blanks to double up so I didn't have a period for our
Right.
honeymoon, right? Like, so, like,
Yeah.
even just that state, and I'm not a medical
Yeah.
person, but even that
Yeah.
statement, I'm like, I
Yeah.
call BS on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
Oh
was
my
pretty much
gosh,
the explanation I
Haley.
got. I know. And so she decided to test to see if I had PCOS. So, in order
Okay.
to be diagnosed with PCOS, you have to meet two out of three criteria. One being irregular periods, so check,
Check.
did that one. The next would be to test your androgen levels, which are your male sex hormones. So, if they're elevated, that could
Okay.
indicate. So, that's why a lot of people with PCOS sometimes they have some like excess facial hair. Sometimes
Okay,
they have
yes, I've
lower
heard that that's a
voices.
symptom.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So your male hormones. So, got that checked. Everything was fine. And then you have to have 12 or more follicles on one ovary. So to do that, they do an internal ultrasound. Everything was fine. So I was not diagnosed with PCOS. I know you're shocked. Just wait. um, yeah. So
But, like, you
everything
had
was fine.
follicles, like, everything was normal.
Yeah, normal. They had the normal amount of follicles. The only thing I had was irregular period. So there was no. She couldn't tell me why I was having irregular periods, basically.
Okay. And that's
So
before you even
again,
get to trying. Oh my gosh. My mind is
yeah,
blown.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't try unless you're ovulating. So obviously, I wasn't ovulating. So I also
And did
wasn't
you
having
know
a
that by
period.
this time? Like, had you figured that out or not even?
Um, I think at this point, because since she was testing me for PCOS, it was pretty obvious that, oh, okay, you're not ovulating. Like that's the issue. Because, like I said, at this point I had had a period for 5 months. So they prescribed me progesterone to induce a period.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you had to do that after one of your losses.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was also prescribed Clomid, which I think Clomid is actually,
That's used for
I think
fertility.
it is, yes.
Yeah.
I think it's also a chemo drug, I think.
Oh.
It's either that one or the other one. But yeah, I was prescribed Clomid to help me ovulate. So, and then every month I was going in for a blood test after to confirm ovulation. So,
So, like, you
yeah.
started going through fertility
Yeah.
treatment before you even, I mean, technically, right? Before you
Yeah.
even really started trying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, this is when we started trying because I wasn't ovulating. I mean, you can't
Okay.
start trying if you're not
Right.
ovulating.
No, no,
So
I know.
you
It's
gotta
just
make
you,
sure. Yeah.
I guess that's
Yeah.
one good thing that they did instead of they're like, we'll try
Yeah.
for a year. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate that you went through that, but the no period for 5 months kind of
Yeah.
helped jumpstart
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's
So,
true.
okay. Wow.
So,
That is
yeah.
crazy. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that because, like, like, we've talked about, like, wishing you could just try without all this stuff, and you didn't even get to experience that, really.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. This
Wow.
was before we met. So like you
Yeah,
know,
like,
you
I just
you had
thought
no
y'all had
idea then.
tried
Yeah.
for a year and then you
Yeah.
figured out you had. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Sorry. Keep going, keep going.
No, it's okay. So I did that for a year. Taking Clomid every single month, going in for a blood test to confirm ovulation, negative test after negative test after negative test for a year. So, um,
Negative pregnancy or negative you weren't even
pregnancy,
ovulating? Were you
pregnancy.
ovulating with
I
Clomid?
was ovulating.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, I
okay,
was ovulating. So, yeah, negative pregnancy test
okay,
every single month for a year. So January, so 2022, January 2022,
okay.
I met with the OB. So I stayed with this OB all year. Um, and then she referred me to a fertility specialist.
And that's right around
That
when you and I
yeah,
met.
yeah. So I was diagnosed with unexplained infertility at this point. There was no reason as to why I couldn't conceive. We got Jake tested, and of course, everything was fine. It
And
said.
how old were you?
So when we went to the fertility specialist, that was 2022. So um, 20. I can't do the math right
You were in your mid 20s. Mid
Yeah,
20s.
I was, yeah, so 19, 20, 21, 22, so 24, I was like 27, 26, 27, something like that.
Okay, so how.
It's mid.
That is a big diagnosis for your 20s.
Yeah,
How did you.
it
Like,
sucked.
okay.
It
And I don't mean to keep
Yeah.
interrupting because I want you to tell your story, but
No,
like
keep asking
that's
questions. Yeah.
huge to be like
It is really big.
unexplained infertility and you're in your
Unexplained.
20s.
Yeah. There's no reason, which is, it's kind of weird because growing up, when you have like conversations with your friends, and you're like, oh, what's your biggest fear or whatever. Like, I always said that I wouldn't be able to have children of my own. So I
Oh,
think part of me always knew that I was
without
going to
knowing.
struggle,
Yeah.
even though I didn't really fully understand the process. I think I always knew that this was going to be my hard. Like, this was going to be something I was going to struggle with.
I want to hug
Um,
you right now so bad.
yeah, I know. It was a lot. But we went to the fertility specialist, and there's not very many fertility clinics in Oklahoma City. So it's a 6-month wait just for a consultation.
Wow.
Yeah, so we went to the fertility specialist in June of 2022. She, of course, wanted to do her own tests. So she wanted to look at my ovaries and everything to make sure all that was good. So tested me again for PCOS. Again, still had irregular periods. My androgen levels were still fine. Um, when we did the internal ultrasound again, though, so again, you have to have 12 or more follicles on one ovary. I had, I, I want to say 28 on one ovary.
Oh,
So more than double. Yeah,
that
and
is
that
a
was just one ovary.
lot.
I think the other ovary had 12 or more than 12 as well. So, I officially found out that I do have PCOS. And like, that's really weird. That's a really weird place to be in, because it was like I've been told for so long that it's unexplained, but now I have a reason. But it's also weird because it's like, oh man, I have a reason. So it's like,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
really complicated feelings. Like, I'm happy that I have a reason, but I'm also like, man, there's a reason. But also like that was something that I could hold on to and be like, okay, well, I have a reason. And yeah, so
Yeah, I think
ha-
with any medical, with anything, but especially with medical, like the unexplained is so hard when people are sick, or whether it's fertility or
yeah,
anything else. When it's like you don't know why, like you need a label, you need
yeah,
a punching bag, for lack of a better word,
yes,
right? Like something to blame, something to hold on to. Were you upset that you didn't have that label earlier? Like, do you think it would
yeah,
have made it easier? Okay, not easier. That's not the right word, but
yeah. I think I was just frustrated. Well, I was frustrated just with the doctor that I had gone to at that point. And like at this point, like once we referred to the fertility specialist, I was like, I'm finding a new doctor. Like, I
yeah.
just being told that like it's normal to feel crappy and all these things, and then be told that it's just unexplained. Like, obviously there is something going on. It is interesting to me that like all my ovaries and follicles looked fine the first time I was tested, but not the second. But I guess it kind of does make sense because you can kind of put it in remission. So maybe just that month, for
Do you think
whatever
like the
reason,
Clomid or
things are
anything like
fine.
that played a factor
That
in
was
it?
before. That was
Okay,
before
so you had already
Clomid.
stopped
Yeah.
that when you went to the fertility
Well,
clinic.
the first, yeah. Well, yeah. I can't remember if she was still doing that. Maybe it could. Maybe you're right. Maybe it could have. I mean, the first time though, I was tested before I was put on Clomid. So I don't really know. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was frustrating. Because it was like, okay, well, we've been doing this for an entire, year at this point, like, or I guess
year and a
over a
half,
year at
probably.
this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, year and a half. And it still just didn't have a reason. So yeah, it was frustrating, but like again, it's complicated. Like, it was relieving, but also really frustrating. Um, I was also, we did an HSG, which is where they check to see if your fallopian tubes are open. So they do
Mm-hmm.
an ultrasound and they put dye in you, and if the dye flows out of your fallopian tubes, they're open. We found that my right fallopian tube was blocked,
Okay.
which is another reason why I was struggling to conceive. So at this point, I had a couple options. So we could remove my tube and then either proceed with IUI or IVF, or we could not remove my tube yet and we could try IUI. Or I guess you could really try IUI or IVF. I wasn't ready to do surgery. I was absolutely terrified to do
I remember
surgery.
when you finally had it and you were like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I was
Because you'd
terrified because
never
I was
had
like,
surgery.
no, no, absolutely not.
I,
So,
yeah.
I didn't want to do that yet. So we decided to try IUI. We did have to wait a couple months, before we could do IUI because I also found that my thyroid levels were not sufficient. So I had to do a couple months of getting on medication, upping the medication, making sure that everything was fine. So we had to wait a couple months. Um,
And IUI is internal uterine
it's
insemination, right?
inner uterine insemination.
Okay, almost
So
had it.
yeah,
So
anytime.
can you explain just kind of what? Because I didn't know
Yeah,
what that was
yeah,
until you and I talked about it.
yeah. So basically, what they do is they take the
Sorry.
sperm. It's okay. They take the sperm and they insert it. So I think I don't. I think it's past the cervix, so it kind of makes it a little less travel time for the
They have to
sperm
work a
to
little bit
kind of get
less.
there. They have to work a little bit less. So you know you have to go in and so I was taking letrozole, which is another medication to help you ovulate. So letrozole is more recommended though for people with PCOS. So instead of Clomid, I was taking letrozole.
Okay.
So that was helping me ovulate, make sure I ovulated. And then you also do a trigger shot. So I'm going in every couple days. They're looking at my ovaries, monitoring my follicles, making sure I at least have like two follicles that are growing. Because follicles are where your eggs are.
Mm-hmm.
So if as they grow, like you
Your
know
eggs
that's probably going
maturing.
to be where your yeah that's going to
Mm.
be probably where your egg is going to release and everything like that. And
And
so
you
they
had the
kind of
added layer of you had to make sure your follicles were growing on the left side because if they were growing on the right side,
well, so the cool thing about your body. I don't know if like if you still have the blocked one, but the cool thing about your body, so like typically when you think of like the woman's reproductive system, like you have that image, right?
mm-hmm.
So you kind of think that everything's kind of there, like it's kind of just frozen there. But actually, like everything's kind of like moving around. It's like swaying. So like your fallopian tubes aren't just there; they're swaying and everything. So it's what's really cool about your body is like so if you don't know, you ovulate on every side every month, every other month. So like 1 month you ovulate on your right, the next on your left, then right, then left. Your left fallopian tube could actually swing over and grab the egg from the right
Oh,
side.
okay.
So it is possible.
Okay, okay.
Um, yeah, so then you do a trigger shot, and that's trigger shot is like it says ovulate now. And then, like a day and a half later, you go into the clinic and they actually do like the insemination
And you're
side of
awake.
it. You're awake, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a little crampy. It was not nothing too
Okay.
intense. They usually say like take Tylenol before, but it just like a normal period cramp, as I say period cramp.
Your
Not like my
normal and my
normal
normal are
period
two
cramp.
very different period
Yeah, yes,
cramps.
yes. More like your normal. Like not
Okay.
not bad. And so we did that. We did three. So we did one in August of 2022, September, and October of 2022, and they all failed. Um,
Oh wow.
yeah, in September of 2022, I also started seeing a nutritionist. Um, After getting diagnosed with PCOS, it was really overwhelming. Um, but I had also seen a lot online that there was a lot that you could do to kind of help it, which is a lot of like blood sugar regulation. But like I was so overwhelmed with all of the information out there. It's like you take this, take that, or do this, don't do that. But then somebody else would say the opposite, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I like. I had also gained a lot of weight once I got off birth control. I think everything kind of just was getting like pushed away with the birth control, and like once I got off of it, everything just kind of was like everything that I've like um, blocked for 2 years or whatever, how long I was on it, kind of just came out. And like I didn't know how to eat. I had never. You're not really taught that. You're not taught how much to eat. You're not. You just kind of are figuring that out by yourself. And so I was like, I'm gonna see a nutritionist. I'm gonna see if there's something that I can at least just feel better because I was feeling like crap at this point. And
Well,
so
your
started
body's
seeing a
betraying
nutritionist.
you,
Yeah,
right? Like you're
yeah,
like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get
yeah,
it.
yeah. Started seeing her in September 2022. So this was like the second IUI that we did and everything, and which I mean that spanned for a couple of years after, so that kind of just kept going. But after I failed our third failed IUI in October, we could either do three more IUIs. So most doctors they'll do up to six. kind of as after 3, if they keep failing, your chances of it working keep going down. So like at most they usually do 6, because if it's not working at 6, it's most likely not going to work. So it was either we could do IUI again or we could go ahead and do IVF. But I had to get my right fallopian tube removed before I could do anything else. Um, Even if I were to have conceived with my blocked fallopian tube, it is possible that it could cause a miscarriage because there's like fluids that are getting backed up that could potentially cause a miscarriage. So that was kind of another reason why I needed to go ahead and get that removed. So at this point, I was done. It had been about, I guess, 2-ish years since we had started trying with like, and obviously there's a lot of waiting in there and everything like
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, I was just done. I was like, I need a break, and I was still terrified of surgery. I was like, I don't even know what I want at this point. Like I was just done. Um,
That's a hard place to be.
yeah, I'm not a very emotional person. I try to keep I say that now, I'm just crying.
Well, I'm about to start crying, so it's okay.
Um, so I mean, there were tears definitely during this entire process. I just try to tell myself one step at a time because it gets really overwhelming, especially as you start heading into fertility treatments. And I was just done at that point. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I was tired of getting poked every month. I was getting my blood tested pretty much every single month for 2 years. Like, I was tired of being told that there's nothing wrong or that they don't know what's going on or, and I was tired of seeing a negative test.
Yeah. Well, and
um,
then there's the financial aspect because at that time,
yeah,
y'all's insurance didn't cover IVF yet, right?
right, right. Yeah. And so I was like, I need a break.
Yeah.
I can't keep doing this. So,
And I think that's even a hard thing to admit because they're of like, does that mean I'm giving up? What does this
yeah.
mean when I say this?
Well, that was the thing is like, I had been, the thing is like, fertility, like, it consumes you.
Yeah.
Like, it becomes your personality pretty much because, like, you're having to track and you're having to do tests. And it's like, I just,
Well,
yeah.
we've talked about it a little bit of like even the how it affects your intimacy at home.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, because you fall, especially when they're, okay, every other day on the even days. Okay, nope, that didn't work. Try every other day on the
Yep.
odd day.
It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. Um, so I decided to have a break, and then in March,
How did
I
Jake take that
decided,
news when you're like, I need a break?
um, he's fine. He was really supportive in every decision. He was like, this is your body.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
you're the one having to do all of
Yeah.
this. So, um, he was fine. He's like, he's like, obviously, I'm not gonna force you to have surgery. I'm not gonna force you to do IVF. Like, I'm not gonna force you to do anything. It's totally up to you. Um, so he was really great about it. In March, so March 2023, I decided, all right, let's pick this back up. I was like, I had a little bit of a break.
How long was that of a break? I didn't do the math. Was it?
So yeah, October was our failed. So November, December, January, February, March, about 5 months.
Okay, almost 6 months. That's a good break.
Yeah, yeah.
And y'all weren't
Uh,
necessarily like trying. Well, I guess you kind of knew you couldn't even try naturally. Like it was just you were living your life, and if
we
something
weren't,
happened,
yeah,
right?
we weren't preventing. But I was still tracking my cycles. I mean, I say I needed a break, but you
Girl,
also
been there, done
can't
that.
can't 100% have a break. So try to track my cycles as much as I can. Again, I'm still irregular, so I wasn't able to try every single month, but it was still kind of just like the main like tests and like doctors and stuff I needed a break from,
Right.
I think.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that makes sense.
um,
Yes.
yeah. March I decided, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and have a surgery.
I
So
remember
had the
that.
surgery. Yes, it was.
I
And
seen
like
your
I
little goodie
called.
basket.
Yes, and like I called, and they were like, "All right, you're scheduled for next week," and I'm like, "Oh." this is a quick thing. Like, I don't have time to prepare for this. Like, this is happening. And we decided that we were going to do IUI again. We were going to try IUI before we went to IVF because IVF is expensive. It is a financial commitment and it's a lot. And so we're like, all right, we'll try IUI again. It is still possible for you to ovulate on the right side and your left fallopian tube to go in, grab it, and come back over. So, um, it slims the chance, but it's still possible. So of course, I had to wait a couple months to make sure everything was healed and
Yeah, yeah.
everything like that. So we did our fourth IUI in June of 2023, and then our it failed. Um, in July of 2023, that IUI got canceled because they missed my ovulation. I had ovulated before they could even catch it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then we did one in August, and that one also failed. And so again, they only do six. Yeah, I only technically did five because one got canceled, but at this point it was
You
very
kind of knew.
like
And I remember you and I
I
even
had to try.
talking about it when you were talking about doing that last one and do you do it, do you not? Could that money that you had paid for the three, whatever was left over, be applied towards IVF? Like I
Yeah,
remember us, and that was a hard thing for you. I mean, when I say we were talking about it, we text, right? Like you live in Oklahoma, I
yeah,
live in Texas, but I remember just reading your messages and just it was hot. Like I could see how hard it was for you to like.
yeah. And I think like Jake has always been like we've always been like big budgeters, and that's because of Jake. Jake is a very like a financial guy, like, and that's why our first year of marriage we focused on paying off debt. Um, and so like I think that was really hard. Um, because
For him to see
I
that
mean,
number and be like,
yeah,
yeah.
and even though like we found out that so I knew that Jake his insurance, I knew that somewhere there was some fertility coverage. Um, I didn't know what it looked like, and then I found out that my job did offer that fertility coverage, and so like I did like all the comparisons
I
between
remember
them.
that.
Yeah, like a whole spreadsheet,
It
like
made
went
my
from like
brain
beginning
hurt
to
when you would
end.
text me
Yeah.
things. I'm like, I don't know.
And then my insurance at work, it ended up they covered 10,000 of it. So that's a big chunk. That's not all of it.
No, it's
So
not.
like
It's not. I will say
even
IVF in
yeah,
Oklahoma is cheaper because I called your
right.
fertility clinic when you
Yeah.
recommended
Yeah.
them. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
still from what they quoted me and
Still a
what your
lot.
insurance covered. That's not all.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not all. And so like we knew we had savings because again, we're a financial budgeting couple. Um, but we knew that it was going to drain our savings even with the help. And so I mean, it's a big financial commitment.
And I think the thing to remember with IVF is it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, that is another thing is that it's not guaranteed. It's also just a lot mentally, physically, emotionally. Like it's a it's a lot.
Hmm.
It's a lot to go through. Um, but we kind of done everything that we could at this point.
So it was either we do
Um,
this or we say that this is not our
this is
future.
it. Yeah.
And that's a
So
hard
we did.
conversation to have because
Yeah.
you were still in your 20s.
Right. Yeah.
To be like, okay, well, then we just won't have a child ever. Right? Like,
Yeah. And it's hard because it's even if you're like in an okay place with that, like now it's like still thinking about like, well, am I gonna feel that way in 30 years from now? Like it's
yeah,
yeah, it's a really
it's very hard.
hard yeah. So after our last failed IUI, we decided we did want to proceed with IVF. However, again, there was a wait.
Shock.
So I couldn't get on the calendar until January. So again, our last failed was August, so we had to wait till January before we could even start that which it worked out because my new insurance kicked in January. So like it ended up working out
It
just like
was
perfectly.
cosmic timing.
Yeah,
I
it was
fully believe that.
perfect. Um, yeah, so we started IVF at the end of January of 2024. I did, I think like 10 days of stems, and stems are the medications that shots that you're taking that basically stimulate your ovaries to grow more than one or two follicles. So I mean, typically when you ovulate normally, you only have one or two, and it releases just one egg. So this was, to do IVF, you have to get as many eggs as possible, basically. And so that's what the stems are, which is very lucky. My body did respond very well to the medications. Most people typically have to do like at least 14 days of stems. So I only had to do 10. So my
Nice.
body responded very well to it, which is also saves
Your body got with the
me more.
program. It's
Yes,
like, I know
yes.
what I
It was
need to
like,
do.
all right, I know what to do. So did that. We had the retrieval in February. I'm not going to talk about how many eggs and embryos we had
Nope.
because that
Nobody's business.
gets into a process which, side note, because this is where the controversy comes in that I've talked about. There are a lot of options of what you can do with your embryos. It's not just one, and you also have to make all of these decisions before you start the IVF process. So, like, we had to make this, like, what happens if you get divorced? What happens if one of you passes away? What happens if both of you pass away? Like, what happens to these embryos? So, we had to make all of these decisions before. I'm not going to speak on our decision, but we
Nope.
made the best decision that is best for us. Um, if you want to fight me on IVF, go ahead, because I'll bring it. So,
No, I mean, I
um,
1,000%. I think you may have mentioned to me once or twice, but I don't even remember. But like, that's one thing Scott and I have talked about, that if we do IVF, that's not, I see on Instagram, like, and I kudos to the people that can do it, where they're like, it's our egg retrieval day. Here's how many we got. Here's how many, whatever, blah blah blah. But and we'll get into it in a couple episodes because we're gonna talk about religion and
yeah,
fertility, and that is one thing that I told Scott, and he was very supportive, is we will never share. Is
yeah,
if we do IVF with with donor eggs, we will never share how many eggs we got, how many embryos we made, how
yeah,
many we froze, how many we plan to use, because it's nobody's business. And everyone's allowed their opinion. I have my opinion on things. I'm cautious on what I share and who I share it to, because it can be so divisive. And fertility is already such a lonely journey. Let's not go against each other and cut each other at the throat. And so yes, nope,
yeah,
don't share. Yes, no, no, no.
yeah. So, because of my age, there was no reason for us to get the embryos tested. So we decided to do a fresh transfer. So, I mean, there's a fresh transfer or there's a
Frozen.
frozen transfer. Yeah. So,
Is there a higher success rate with fresh versus frozen, or does it not?
I think that's pretty much the same.
Okay,
I don't think
okay.
there's like a big difference. So we had a retrieval, and then like 2 days later, I went in for the transfer. So
And
it was
y'all were
a lot.
crazy and got a puppy the day of your transfer.
We did. We got our little golden. She just showed up on. I remember it. We went in for the transfer. I was waiting for like the doctor to come in and like tell me like what to do and everything like that. And I was like, Jake, like these people are
You're like, well, if I don't get a baby, I got a dog.
yeah. And we decided right then and there we were gonna get, even after our transfer, we went to PetSmart and like got all of our
I
yeah,
remember because I thought y'all were crazy, and
yeah,
two,
we were.
it was so funny because Scott and I had been talking about maybe getting a second dog, which we didn't, but you did that, and it was your transfer, and I had just had a negative test, and I was at work, and I just started bawling, and I didn't know why I was bawling, and then my period started the next day. I was like, ah, oh, there's the hormone. There we go.
Yeah,
We got that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we did transfer, and then
Did
it was
getting a puppy help with the nerves of the transfer though? Because like,
I think it helped to take my mind off a little bit. I mean, it
because you're dealing
definitely
with
is
a
still
freaking
at the
puppy.
front of mind, but yeah, because like every couple hours you have to take her outside and everything like that. But um, yeah, I think it probably helped a little bit.
That's good.
But yeah. So 2 week wait. I was told
How
that was
was
gonna be
that, the
good.
2 week
Yeah,
wait? Was that
it was hard.
awful? Because
It
this
was
is your first
hard.
time that you
Yeah.
know for sure you have a shot.
Right. At this point, like once you do a transfer, you are considered pregnant until proven otherwise. So,
I will say, all three of us ate McDonald's French fries for you on your
yes,
transfer day.
yes, that is like the good luck thing is to eat French fries because of all the salt and everything. Supposedly, it's helpful. But yeah, it was. I mean, like I tried my best to not really think about it, but of course, I'm like watching videos like on TikTok, finding people
Like,
who have
I
gone through
stressed
it
through
and
the
like
two
looking
week
at their
wait just when we're trying naturally. I don't know how you did it. Like,
yeah.
oh.
I mean like searching like IVF like 2 days post transfer. Like I literally like just seeing what people were going through. Like
Did you? I've
I was
seen
going through it.
people where they like test out their trick because you do a trigger shot
I didn't.
and they
Yeah,
test
I
out their
did
trigger
trigger
shot and then start. Did you? You didn't do any early testing, nothing like that. Oh, girl, you got
You
power of
know,
steel.
I was told that I could take a positive test the day before I went in for a blood test. They said they recommended doing that. Actually, they said I could do it 2 days before, but they literally recommended the day before.
And you
I
waited.
waited to the day before. So, yeah. I think that's the thing with like through all of the other time. I definitely took a pregnancy test a lot earlier than I should have.
Well, and I think what
Um,
with you waiting, what's so amazing about that, because what people don't realize, and I didn't realize until you told me, is your percentage of a successful IVF is actually higher your second round, right? Like your first round, you're not expected, but you're more likely to for it not to take, and then it kind of
yeah.
primes your body in a way for. I mean, I know that's not medical
Yeah.
term, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's supposed to get better the further. I mean, in fact, a lot of people have to do multiple retrievals. Even they say like the first retrieval isn't always
Well, and I was
like
watching something
successful.
on online, that like for every 3 eggs retrieved, or I don't know if it's eggs
Yeah,
or embryos, the chance of actually having a pregnancy is
embryos.
1.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's 1 in 3 embryos.
yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, I waited to the day before
Oh
going
my
in for the
gosh, I
blood
can't
test,
wait.
and this is the first one that I like wanted Jake to look at it with me. Like all the other ones were just me, but I wanted him to look at it.
Were you terrified?
Um,
Like just
yeah. I
I
think
can't
it's just because like we mentioned, like it's a lot of money. It's not a guarantee, so it's like, am I really gonna
Well,
waste
and
all this
this
money for
is
nothing?
well, and this is if it's negative, you had a loss,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
There's something different about that too.
right, right. Um, turned it over, and it was positive.
Did you scream? Like, what did you do?
I didn't scream. I remember turning it over and being like, it worked. I was like, that's a positive. I think at this point, like,
Did you do digital double line? Like,
yeah, so we did the like just a normal double line, and I was like, I have to take a digital. Like, I
you
have
have to
to.
see the
Like,
words. Yeah,
I want to see the word pregnant. Um,
I get
there
that a
was something
1000%.
so surreal about it because, like, yeah, like I knew it's possible to get a positive test. I mean, I've seen people do it. Obviously, it's possible to get pregnant because I'm here. I'm living. Like, I see people having babies, but like to me, until this point,
It seemed impossible.
it didn't exist.
Hmm?
I was like, this is something that I've made up in my brain that it's possible to get positive. You know, like I don't know how people are on this earth because obviously pregnancy doesn't happen. Like, you know, because like I had seen so many. I
Yeah.
mean, at this point, it had been over 3 years,
And
and
being in your
so
20s, all, friends,
yeah,
coworkers, everyone around your age is getting pregnant, having babies, baby showers, all the things.
yeah, yeah. So it's just so surreal. Be like, wow, like this is like real. Like this can happen. um yeah, and then the next day we went in for the blood test. It confirmed that I was pregnant. Um, a couple days later, you go back to get it checked to make sure it's increasing. It didn't quite double.
Oh, wow, I didn't
Um,
know that. Okay.
yeah, which was really scary.
Yeah, yeah.
It almost doubled. It was close, but they usually are looking for a double. And then I think I went in at 4 weeks when I was 4 weeks, which one of the positives of IVF is that you get a lot of ultrasounds. So at 4 weeks, they did an internal ultrasound. They were able to find him. They were able to get a heartbeat.
And y'all didn't know boy or
Um,
girl at that time because y'all didn't do genetic
no,
testing.
we didn't do genetic testing yet, so
Okay.
we didn't know what it was. And then I think I went back at like 6 weeks. They did another ultrasound. And then I think about 8 weeks I went back. They did another ultrasound, and then I graduated to my regular OB and didn't have to go to the fertility specialist. So, like I mentioned, I'm not a very emotional person, so that's why I didn't really cry during talking about this. But I hope everyone understands. Like it was hard. Um,
And you
I think
that's not
I'm
to
on
say
the
you didn't cry and have the emotions through all this,
yeah.
right? Like, of course, like, and
I
even,
am on the other side of it, kind of. So I think I have processed a lot of it. I think I processed honestly a lot of the feelings about myself last year. Um, I went on like a woman's retreat, and had a lot of time to kind of sit by myself and kind of reflect on some things. And um, I think I resolved a lot of the hate, I guess, towards myself.
yeah. I mean, I remember, you know, you saying, my body's broken, my body doesn't work, and I didn't know the right thing to say. And I just remember one thing that I just kind of try to keep repeating is, it's not broken, it just needs help. And I don't even know if that was the right thing to say in the moment, but just hearing, I mean, you were so, that blame you carried.
I think I had to really work on forgiving myself and giving myself grace. Um,
And that is hard to do.
because I didn't do anything to cause it. Um,
No,
so
you didn't. How does
um,
it feel sharing your whole story all in one sitting?
it feels good. I hope it's not boring.
It's not
I feel
boring.
like I'm not a very good storyteller, so
No, there was so much of that I didn't even realize, like, at all.
yeah,
Are you open to some
yeah,
questions? I know I asked questions
yeah,
throughout. Okay, let's see. I'm
sure,
gonna pull them
yeah.
up. Let's see.
But like I said, I am on the other side of it, but I know that I'm also not because our family doesn't feel complete.
So
But
that's
I
one of
will
my
say,
questions. Like, do you want more children?
I think we want one more.
Okay.
So, um, yeah. And I think also just Loden is literally, this is where I'm gonna really cry. He is the best thing that's ever happened. And he was so worth the wait and so worth all of it. It has been truly the best being a mom and just like watching him learn. And I just, if anybody's going through it, like it's a hard process, but it is so worth it to keep going. So worth it. I wouldn't change any of it. So,
Oh, I don't even want to ask any questions now because that was so perfect. Was there anything throughout the process that people said or did that either was very, very helpful or very not helpful?
um, I think during it, and whether they knew what was going on or not, there was one particular person that would be around like at the holidays and stuff. Um, and she would make comments of, my sister has a or my nephew was born and stuff, and so would be around him, and it was always like, oh, you're getting some good practice in, or just kind of making comments like that. Not really, I guess, related to the process, but just overall. So I know people mean well, uh, but you don't know what people are going through. We also don't know if people even want children. Um,
I mean, I've been guilty of that, and it wasn't until I met you and really kind of you've been so open of like, when are you gonna have a baby? Or, and
yeah,
I'm like, no, you
yeah,
can't
you
ask
just
that.
don't ask. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
because you just don't know what people are going through. So
Yeah.
that, and then we'll probably talk a little bit more about it when we talk about the religion. But uh, before we started IVF, there was a lady that I went to church with when I lived in Texas, she had posted this article about how horrible IVF is and how big of a sinner you are and how horrible of a person you are. And then when we announced the pregnancy, she commented and was like, "Congratulations!" And I'm like,
You have
"I
no
don't know
idea.
what you said."
Yeah.
Like they should, yeah. So I don't think like necessarily really, yeah, anything particular to the process.
So, last question. You don't have to answer it because I know you said y'all aren't complete. Um, is there, I can't think of the right word, because you went through all this for IVF and you have, you have what you have
Yes.
from IVF. Um, is there what are your feelings of if you were to get pregnant naturally or having to do a transfer again? Because I mean, I think that's, and you don't have to, you can say, I don't want to answer, and that's fine. We can end there.
No, I'm good. Um, yeah, it's complicated. It's a complicated feelings
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Even though it took so much to get pregnant, I mean, I do still have one fallopian tube. So, I mean, it is possible for me to get pregnant naturally. Um, it would be a miracle,
Yes, it would. Yeah.
but it's still possible. Um, there is a guilt, and I mean, there's going to be a guilt if it comes to the time where, if we do feel our family is complete, and we still have embryos. I think even though we're happy with the decision we made of what to do with those, if that ends up happening, um, there's a sadness still because, I mean, of course, those are
It was part of
we
you,
made
and it's
those.
part of
We
Jake.
made
Yeah.
those, yeah. It'd be amazing if it happened naturally. I mean, I wouldn't have to do all of the shots that were horrible.
Hey, I wouldn't have to come up and give you a shot in your butt. We got extra
Yeah.
close when I did that.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
I know, I know. You had already done your transfer. You were pregnant,
Yeah.
but you were doing progesterone.
Yeah, you have to do progesterone and oil, which goes in like it's
It goes
kind
in
of
your
your butt. It's
butt.
like it's above your butt,
It
kind
was your
of. But
butt. I saw your
um,
butt.
yeah, you have to do it until you're 10 weeks. It's so like the placenta and everything can develop
Yeah.
properly.
We went to a
We went to a
concert. And,
concert and I needed somebody to do it, so we
yeah.
went to the bathroom and he did it for me.
Hey,
But
that's what friends do. Come
yeah,
on.
yeah. So I mean, there is a fear. It's complicated. Like I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah,
Like
no.
it's a very complicated feeling towards it. So
And I guess to kind of end our segment, is there anything you wish people knew about infertility or IVF or the process of IVF that you just feel like they need to hear?
yeah, I think I kind of mentioned it. Like my mentality was always one step at a time, and I've told you it several times
Guilty, guilty, guilty as
because
charged.
like I credit that to being able to get through it all because like it's overwhelming. It will swallow you whole if you are thinking about all of it at the same time. Like you literally have to be like, okay, the next step is I have to go to the doctor. Okay, the next step is getting my results. Okay, the next step is taking this medication. Well, I also have to take it this next day. So my next step is taking it tomorrow. Like you literally have to take it one step at a time through all of it, but especially if you are starting like the IUI and IVF when there are so many doctors, so many tests, so much medication, like you have to do it one step at a time. So I say that like I'm proud of myself for doing that because I don't think I would have been able to get through it if I had not done that. So that's what I would tell people.
Well, you are a rock star, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was good for both of us to get our stories out, and I know though, the last episode and this episode are a little bit heavier. So if y'all make it through, our next episode we are gonna do fun and silly and just
Yes.
kind of talk about all the crazy things we
Yes.
have tried while trying.
Yes.
So that's it for this episode. Did you have anything else you wanted to add or say before we sign off?
I don't think so. Do we need to do our two truths?
Oh, yes. Okay, that is right. Oh, two truths and a
I
hormone.
know.
Let's see. For the past week, oh my goodness. I don't even know. What are my two truths?
I don't know if I have two. I have one.
Okay, go for it. You have one, I have
Um,
one that makes it two.
okay, there you go. Um, the Oklahoma City Thunder won.
Oh, I meant
Like
to tell
way
you
higher
congratulations
last
at the beginning
night.
of it. Yes, I know.
We
So, are you more
won.
excited that they won, or are you more excited that they won and it's over and Jake is no longer freaking out? Which are you more
Yeah,
excited about?
I am a Thunder fan, so like I'm happy they won, but I'm also very happy that I don't have to deal with the depression that Jake would be feeling for the next couple months. So, but yes, we won. I keep joking that I birthed the good luck charm because um the day after Lona was born, like literally when we were in the postpartum like unit or whatever, the
Yeah.
room, like less than 24 hours, it was like either like the first or second preseason game, and Jake brought his laptop so that we could watch it in the hospital. So I like to say that I birthed the good luck charm,
There
and
you
I'm the reason
go.
that
There
we
you
won
go.
this year. So
Everyone can
you're
just start
welcome,
sending all the
everybody.
thank
Yes,
yous to you and
yes,
Loden
you're
for
welcome.
sure,
You're
for
welcome.
sure. My truth is Scott is finally on break. So Scott works for the school district I work with, and so he is on break, and we are getting to just kind of catch up on things. And the truth of that is, since he got off on Friday, we have not done much, and it has been amazing, and we have
That
definitely
is
needed that.
amazing.
So, yeah, there's still a to do list, and we're gonna try and tackle that. But my truth was we needed to just kind of sit and play video games or watch TV or sleep in. Last night we stayed up till midnight and then I slept until like 8:30. Like it was
Yeah.
wonderful. So that is my truth. My hormone is I did have a little bit of one. I know that at the beginning I had said that it's the beginning of my cycle and I wasn't completely devastated that I wasn't pregnant this month. There was still a little bit of feel, but not too much. But I will say there is a couple that I follow on Instagram. They're Alex and John, and I absolutely love them. But they had a late term loss last year of a little boy, and they just announced that they're due in September. And their post was amazing, and it talked about if this is triggering, if you need to block, unfollow, we understand all that things. And I was so happy for them and so excited for them, but there definitely was that why not me moment,
Yeah.
especially with that September due date, because that's when we were due with our chemical and just kind of feeling those feels. But one thing I've worked on in therapy a lot is you can be happy and sad at the same time. And I don't even know these people, right? Like no ill will, like nothing at all. I'm so, so, so happy for them.
Yeah.
But there was that moment of, damn it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's understandable.
that's my hormone for this week. What's your hormone for this week?
I don't really have
That's
one.
good.
I'm like in the happy
Yeah,
phase.
the happy phase of your cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
so
there.
that can be your hormone too. Like hormone doesn't always have to be bad
That's
because
true.
sometimes hormone is not bad.
That is true. That is true. So I guess I'm in the happy hormone phase right now. So we'll go with that.
Well, if you stuck around, thank y'all for listening. If you are new and this is the first podcast you listen to, hop back for the other two. We have an intro and then we have my story before this one. If you liked it, like, follow. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We have an email, two truths and hormones spelled out at gmail.com. Shoot us any comments, questions, feels, anything you'd like us to talk about because we are going to be open books. So awesome. We will
Yeah.
see
Thanks,
you next week.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.